Alrighty, let's see. What did we do last week? We got this one. What did I do? Well, that sounds really weird. And probably this was the final here. I haven't listened to that since what, last Monday? When I listened to that, I feel like, and actually it was kind of what I was talking about, playing over the changes between the chords rather than playing on the chords individually. In other words, if it's a C chord, if it's a C chord, then you play a C lick, and then, you could kind of approach it that way. I generally don't, I like to highlight the viva la difference and viva la similarities. Like between the C and the G chord, you have a D, you have a G in both those chords. So you can kind of sit on that note. And that the cool thing about common tones is that the tone, you don't change a note, you're playing the same note between, in that case I'm playing a G over the C chord and a G over the G chord. But the note almost sounds like it changes because its relationship to the chord changes. It goes from being to the fifth to the root. And so, when the chord goes from that G note, changes its value without you doing anything, which is kind of cool too. I kind of reacted to the chord change. And another way to approach it would be to do the exact opposite, or I played over the chord change, but to react more to the chord change afterwards. I wonder if I just move this guitar solo, what happens if I move it over 2 beats? Let's just listen to it moved over 2 beats and see what it sounds like. So what's happening is everything's delayed. Thing that I might change that last lick and move it sooner. But that worked phenomenal. I felt like that actually sounded more interesting because it was a little bit more unusual. What I originally played was pretty in pocket, pretty predictable, kind of, when you're doing a session, when you're playing on a record, when you're playing with somebody, a lot of times you're trying to make them happy, and so you're going to kind of go to the most obvious thing. If you try to go too weird too soon, they might go, I don't know about that. So I wouldn't necessarily call this weird, but I thought that's kind of cool. So all I did was, now it's a little weird because I'm sitting on that G and it goes to the D chord. So there's no G in the D chord. In fact, you get that F sharp G rub. So it's a little bit weird there, but take your instincts and then, like, my instinct was to play more on top, like we ultimately did right here. Okay, you can take your instinct, mess with it a little bit, and I tell, we've talked about this before with songwriters when they keep writing the same song over and over again, or they have very similar skeletons of their melodies in particular, or chord progressions even worse, but a lot of times all their melodies start on a downbeat. Hey, why don't you start on the end of 4, or start on the end of 1, or start on the end of 2, or start on 4, or start on 2. Start your melody somewhere different and see what happens. The other thing I can do is I can take their melody, I'll play it. Here's your melody on piano. Okay, now let's move it over an eighth note and see what it sounds like, and it might sound more interesting and less predictable and less common. And then, to be honest, part of what populates pop is something that doesn't quite sound like something else. It's like, oh wait, that's new. Pop can't, it always has to be new. That's why the pop genre can't really be defined easily. I've talked about this before. If I was going to make a country record, I would have a bass player, drummer, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, maybe pedal steel, maybe violin, maybe banjo, acoustic guitar, or lead guitar or whatever. It would be pretty obvious if I. Thanks, Bruce. If I were to make a classical guitar record, it's going to be classical guitar. If I was going to make a blues record, it's going to be guitar, bass, and drums, maybe keyboards. If I was going to make a jazz record, you're probably going to, But with a pop record, it could be any of those and all of those, and it could be, full orchestra. It could be just synths. It could be, 3 drummers and a bass player. I mean, you just don't know what will create that new sound. And sound and styles and vibes come and go in pop, and they come back in pop. And so something that was, might be considered blues is now a pop song. And so I've heard that a lot, where a song like, whoa, that's kind of interesting. Boy, that's really old school. But they did a twist on it. So that said, I moved this solo over an eighth note, 2 quarter notes. And see there, I might change that note. So I might go something like that, which is kind of sweet actually, because you're taking that 1 to the 5 really nice. So let's see what that would sound like. I don't even need to go here. I can go like here. And then what did I do? What was the lick here? Oh yeah, that. And that really worked well. I don't think I need to change anything there. So go back to this and it's... That was kind of nice. Now I might do something different there, but again, if I'm writing a solo, I might go, let me try moving this over a little bit and see if it still works. Of course, Doyle Dykes. I know Doyle Dykes. I mean, I've met him. I met Tommy too. Never met Les Paul or Chet Atkins. All right, so let's see. Anyway, so that's just a recap of what we did last week, and I'm going to put this solo back where it was. Oops, here. And I could solo this. Yeah, and that last lick again was this. And again, I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I don't know that I can. I don't know if I have that in my DNA anymore. I mean, I see the kids on Instagram do this where they play a solo over a song, and there's entire YouTube channels of guys that do this, and guys and gals, and most of them tend to be like really kind of flashy, and they're doing a lot of like, I don't know, like, I can't even like what? and I mean, I try to kind of imagine myself, and this goes all the way back to me being 15 freaking years old, and sitting in my bedroom in Indianapolis going, okay, if I was hired to do this session, what would I do? How would I play this? What might I do that would be, you know, akin to something that Steve Lukather might do in the session, or because a lot of the pop stuff back when I was like in high school and stuff, Lukather was playing a lot of those solos. I think the Peg solo was crazy from Steely Dan, and that was Jay Graydon. It was one of my favorite solos. And recently I saw him play it with, I think, was it Rick Beato was in there with it at Jay's house. And Jay remembered what he did. I mean, of course, it made him pretty famous, but it was kind of an accident. So, hey, Quail Studios, what's going on? But yeah, they tried many things. Many famous soloists tried to solo over Peg, and I thought my recollection of it was that Graydon came in and it was the first thing he did. But when he told the story, it was like, no, he tried a lot of stuff and it wasn't working. And then they said, well, he thought, well, I'll go blues with it or something. And even though the progression was very diatonic, or it wasn't necessarily lending itself well to blues, but a blues is always a good place to start. On this song, again, with the G, we did try a bunch of things. I didn't record them, but we tried blues. What I would do is I would do more of I guess you could call it E minor blues. I could move that up 3 frets, okay? And we've talked about this, and it's one of those amazing things about the guitar is you play E minor pentatonic, and add that blues note, and it's not the blues note, it's not a flat 5 in the key of G, it's a flat 3. But that blues, so if I move that up 3 frets to the 15th fret, or you can take away 12 frets and go down to the 3rd fret. My hands are still warming up. It's going to be real bluesy, and it's going to sound a little, I don't know, maybe a little forced or something. But if you play the blues, E minor kind of blues, I've got the flat 3 in there. I got the major 3rd in there. It's all very major it's major pentatonic. It's G major. But it's using the shape that we love, which is pentatonic. I call pentatonic number 1. Same Sam. I met him in a small like a little, at a guitar store in LA, and it was, they kind of set up the room for a concert, and it was, I don't know, 40 chairs or something. It was very small. So I mean, that might be the starting point for me on a solo like this. Also, there's somebody. There was this, oh man, I wish I could find it. That would be, I wonder if I can't remember where I originally saw it. Let's see. Session guitar round table. That's not going to probably get it. But it was Dean Parks was the guy that the quote I'm thinking of. Dean Parks, who else would have been there? I'm not sure. Let's see. It would have been really old. Oh yeah, there's that. Yeah, that was interesting. That's the one I was talking about, though. It was Jay Graydon and Dean Parks along with Tim Pierce. There's some old Dean Parks interviews. I've done sessions with Dean, but all right, so let me boop. All right, but what Dean Parks said, they were asking what's the most important skill to have. All right, for a session musician, and typically it's guitar sessions, particularly. String players wouldn't say this. String players just read what's put in front of them and then they go home. And typically they'll keep the session to 3 hours, or they'll do a double 3-hour session where you'll do a 3-hour session and you'll take an hour off and come back and do another 3 hours. That's typical for a string player. Guitar players may come in and they may go, they'll book the day and they'll just say, hey, we need you here the whole day and we want to do an album in a day. But that's the thing that Dean Parks said. They said, what's the most important skill to have? And he said time. And the interviewer said, oh yeah, to have good time, of course, you got to have great time. He goes, no, to know how much time they want to spend on each track. In other words, if you want to do a record in one day, and I've done these before, where you just get in a room with a drummer and bass player, keyboard player, and you're sitting there and they throw 10 charts in front of you and you've got 4, 5, 6 hours to get 10 songs done. Their expectations have to be lower in that case. What's the saying? If you want it, you pick two, fast, cheap, or good. So it kind of comes under that, if you want it fast and you want it good, it's going to cost you. If you want it fast and you want it cheap, it's not going to be that good. And usually that's kind of where you lie. And so what you tend to do in those situations is go to the lowest, I don't want to say the lowest common denominator, but the most obvious place. So in this scenario, say this was the 7th song of the day, and it says guitar solo, and I'm like, okay, whatever, I probably it. I might, or I don't know, the tempo's so slow, and I don't know that speed would necessarily. I missed the ending, but. That wasn't very good. I didn't like that. I felt like it was just like, okay, I'll lick A, lick B, lick C. That's kind of the harder part about playing really fast, is you have to be able to think fast. And if it's just one thing, if I'm just going to shred in the key of G or something like that, again, I just don't feel like those are the best solos. They sound like you're showing off, or they just don't make any sense. You want to, like I said, the solos should be kind of a continuation of the conversation that the lyrics are having. And the melody and the lyrics, and you kind of want, if it's a sad song, you want to play to that. If it's a happy song, you want to play to that. Thank you, Holly. I didn't pin the. Sorry, let me pin the Discord link thing. Pin. That way it's up there. So anyone who wants to join the Discord. Not a whole lot going on at Discord, which is fine, but you can ask me. Bruce, thank you for reaching out last night. You can ask me or give me suggestions about videos, live streams, or videos that you'd like to see. I was out of town this last weekend, and I filmed a video about that pentatonic guitar, which I'm kind of now calling a Kodo guitar, but in fact, it's right now, I think it's sitting in a Kodo tuning. And I did a bunch of different open tunings on it. I think I did 10 or 12 different open tunings, just as I thought of them, really kind of on the fly for the most part. So I'm gonna edit that video. That takes a minute, and then I'll post that one. But oh yeah, did I touch my face? Cheers. That's a COVID bozo no. So yeah, I mean, again, a solo has to kind of keep in mind its purpose, its context within the song. And again, like I said, if the lyric's a happy lyric, you don't want to be like, you don't want to play a guitar solo that says I want to kill myself. That doesn't make sense if the lyric is happy. However, if it's a sad lyric, you don't want to be like, go all Bach on it or anything. That wouldn't make sense either. So, and sometimes, a lot of times, when you're in a session, you don't know what the lyrics are about. They're not there. Usually, if it's a well organized session, they've got a guide vocal, because you really, especially if you're a guitar player and they're asking you to do fills and stuff, you need to know where the lyrics are, because you don't want to be going all over the lyrics. And so they'll just cut you out if that's the case, or turn you down. So if you have a what they call a guide vocal there, which helps a lot. I mean, it could be the worst vocal in the world. It doesn't matter. It will tell us where the vocals are, and they can replace it later. That is pretty common if you're going to do a session like that. Again, if you want a 10-song and 5-hour session to go well, you better be prepared. If you don't have charts, if you're expecting the musicians to do their own charts, this happened the other day, and it was a 3-song session, and it took about 8 hours. And it's like he didn't have charts. He didn't really even have ideas. It was just like, these are, he played his demo, and then we had to do charts. So that's not, optimal, and it took a lot of time. And it was like, and we were comparing notes. It's like, is this the chord you're hearing, or what are you hearing there? Because that's kind of a weird chord. It was doing a lot of weird tunings and stuff, and it was like, he knew the tunings, but it definitely took longer than if he had prepared charts in advance. We could sight read, and all of us wanted to have something in front of us, chart-wise, just because for me that's really helpful. I've forgotten more songs than I've remembered or learned or whatever. It's as soon as I play something, I've got a session. In fact, we have to stop early because I've got a session at 11 my time here. If I have charts for everything, it just makes things a lot faster. And the composer that's coming over today has charts. He literally has professional charts, like old school charts for every track. It's amazing. He even prints it up on like the heavy kind of yellow paper, the light, the kind of tan paper. So knowing the context of the song, knowing what the song's about, knowing the whole vibe of the song. Sometimes a guitar solo is a departure, and they want something different. Sometimes they just want a concept or something. Like, now this progression would be a little harder to do a concept over. And by concept, I just mean almost something like a rhythm progression. I have to remember the chords, but it's C, G. Oh no, it was right. So, like a more conceptual part for that might be something like this. Let's see, hold on. Nah, that's not right. That's not very good. Here, let me try this. Kind of more like a Tom Petty approach or something, right? More, a Mike Campbell approach, where we just kind of chords, something like that. Let me get in tune a little better because I'm a little out of tune with the track. Another approach might be to take like the G string and just use the G string in every chord, even though the D chord it might be a little weird. That was just the G string that was out too. All right. So what I basically, and that again, if it was kind of like a country tune, that might be the more of the approach. I would do more of a chord thing. Something like that, where I'm using that G string as kind of a sonic glue to hold the whole phrase together. Or I could use the B string. My B string might be a little bit weirder. But that's kind of the idea, is that depends on what style the song is in general. I mean, it's hard to tell from this little snippet. Okay, so I have another track that I did to solo over. And again, I don't really have much of a concept here. And see if you can tell me what song it is. I recorded the melody, but I'm not going to play it for you yet. 99 BPM. Ends abruptly. Is that kick drum too loud? All right. Let me put a button on it. A button is a term of a last chord. Okay. That's definitely a button. That's a loud hi-hat. Let's see. Maybe that symbol. Okay. Yes, very good, Holly. Very good. Boy, Holly's good. Holly's talented. So what should I end on? How should I end it? Oh, let me just go. Let me just end on the root. How about that? I'm just going to end on the root chord. So it's going to stay on the root, which might be a little bit boring, but it gives me something. Okay. So here's the melody. I just tracked the melody just before we went live. I always rush. So, yeah. So if there's no guitar solo on that song. I want it that way. But tell me why. Oh, what did Carrie? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm missing stuff here. Oh, nice, Grad. Catherine's the smartest person in the room. Probably every room. We're going to teach him. Oh, you'll be all in starting next week. Well, that's awesome. Well, yeah. Well, you're a good teacher. It's so funny. I just was thinking about an old friend of mine, Catherine, and I'm not going to say who it was. Yeah, you know, a friend. But it was just funny because he would make me laugh so hard. We had so much fun, and I haven't seen him in decades. We were in a band together back in the early '80s, and he would, if he was watching, he would know who I was talking about. But but I was like, oh, I wonder what ever happened to him. So I knew where he was teaching, so I Googled his name and where he was teaching, and Rate My Professor came up, right? And his rating was pretty high. It was like 4.67 or something like that. My sister is also on Rate My Professor, and her rating is not that high because she is hard. Her classes are freaking tough, and they're really hard. I mean, she expects a lot from her students, and they complain about it, but then they also say ultimately they say the best teacher they've ever had. So her rating is, it just, you know, the ratings are different things. And my friend, it was like, I was reading the reviews and everybody goes, oh man, no matter what, if you just turn in the 3 essays, you get an A, you get 100% on your class, you know, and he's really funny. We often don't talk about anything to do with the class and I'm like, yeah, there's no, we talk about current affairs or we talk about movies and, you know, it's like, and I get it. He's been doing it for a long time and he's got a reputation and all the students liked him. He had a really high rating because they all really liked him. And so it was favorite teacher, favorite class. But how much of that was because it was an easy A? One student said, I'm in class at RISD. And she has them draw a ton. And she has all these things that she makes them do. And, I mean, it's hard work. You can probably look her up. Oh, you're buffering. Weird. Okay, I'll keep an eye on the thing. It's green right now. 70% of the So this song is in the key of A. So the chord progression, and I'm going to write it out. So I'm going to replace all of this. Let me start with the chord progression. Okay. Which one is this? This one. Okay. Tell me why. Let's see. Tell me why. Wait. Tell me. So I'm gonna have to write this out a little different because it's not just, well, I mean, I didn't do it. So basically it's and then D, F sharp minor, and then two bars of that, and then that again, D, E, F sharp minor, and then it goes to D. E to A, and then it did F sharp minor to E, A. So it ends with the ends on the 1 chord this time. The other progression we did ended on the 5 chord. So if you want, you can play along with me on this. D, again D, E, F sharp minor, and then D, E, A, F sharp minor, and then, oops, sorry, E, A. Like I said, it ends on the 1 chord. So if we were to analyze this, it would be 4, 5, 6 minor, 4, I don't really have to say 6 minor, 5, 6, 4, 5, 1, 6, 5, 1. All right, very kind of Very simple chord progression, but really kind of super smart. So you got that 4, 5, 6 2 times in a row. It really sets up that 4, 5, 1, and then it does the 5, 1 thing again, but starts on, instead of the D, it starts on the F sharp minor. You know, you could probably, or whatever. I always say I did it that way. You could do a D there instead of the F minor, but you know, and D minor, you can do the F sharp minor instead of the D. Obviously, the D is not what it is, it's F sharp minor. But F sharp minor also kind of sounds like a D major 7. If the difference between D major 7 and F sharp minor, all of F sharp minor is in a D major 7 chord. Basically, D major 7 is an F sharp minor chord with a D in the bass. So that's right there is something to play with over the D chord. The other thing is, you know, the first place you can go to is the melody. Right? The next place I could go is to take that same melody up an octave. So now, because the vocals are pretty low there. It's an interesting vocal because the last part of that chorus, the last part of the hook is the highest note is the starting note of it. So rather than ending the chorus hook on the highest note, it actually doesn't. It doesn't end on the lowest note, but it ends on the C sharp. Actually ends on the A, so it actually ends on one of the lower notes. But that's the resolution. You wouldn't want to make them sing up there. You might not anyway. I mean, they can get this F sharp, so they might be able to get that. But the very first place I could go is I could take that and play the melody up an octave. What is it? Gotcha. There we go. I mean, and that may be it. They may go, done, next song. You're basically playing off of it. But, you know, so I started with a melody. I threw it up an octave so it sounds like a guitar solo now. And we even really talked about on this particular track tone, but I'm going with a slightly gainy sound, you know. Not a lot of sustain. Not too much to hide behind. There's a little bit of reverb, a little bit of delay, a little bit of gain, kind of a little bit of everything. I might call this sound a little bit. But hey, Bruce, help me keep tabs on the time too. Like, let me know when it's 10:30. Otherwise, I'll just keep talking, particularly about me, which is my favorite subject to talk about. We have anybody here? I've been doing those. Oh, not bad. I mean, what do we peak at? We 31. All right, let's bump it back up to there. Hey, don't forget to hit that like too if you get a chance. I don't know what this thing does. This heart, you know, boop boop boop. All these little things here. I don't know what they're really about, but okay. So so I might start out with the melody. I could go, again, this is another one where I could go to that F sharp minor blues. So I'm really adding a C natural. I wouldn't want to do A blues. The song's in A, but A blues would probably be like two. first it sounded kind of cool and then it got kind of old, you know what I mean? So that might be the indication there that you could go to that for a split second. Not sure exactly where, but it's a fairly, even though there's a lot of F sharp minors here, it's a fairly happy chord progression. In the lyric, I want it that way. I want it that way. Tell me why. I don't even know what the lyrics are. I have a feeling Holly knows every lyric. That was amazing, Holly, that you picked that chord progression out. Okay, cool. Nice. Like I said, when I did that blues thing, there was something about it. So that might be something to do in the second phrase. So check this out. Maybe some. See, I think it could work there. You see, so I didn't do a very good first phrase idea. So let me play the melody there. Let's just play a melody there, and I'll do start the second phrase with the melody. Tell me why. It's not. Is it? Yeah, it is. Tell me why. Yes, 10:30. Thanks, Bruce. 10:30 my time, not your time. That would be like 17 hours from now. No, 10:30 my time, which would be 1:30 your time. Okay. Some of you are eating lunch while you watch me, I know. But actually, I thought that blues thing, you can go too long with it. And it ends on, again, keep in mind the chord is F sharp minor, but let's... Now, see, I think it might work better on the third phrase because I wanted to end on an A there, and that A didn't sound like a resolution over the F sharp minor. Did you notice that? When I went to this, and it didn't sound like a resolution. So let me play the melody for the first half, and then in the second half, I'll do the... and see what that sounds like. That might be kind of cool. It might be an option. A place to go. Again, I'm treating soloing like writing a little song or a little mini composition, okay? The thing is, when I was 15, it might take me 2 days to write something here. When I was 16, it might take me 1 day to write something here. When I was 17, it might take me 8 hours. When I was 18, it might take me 4 hours. And now I could probably write something in 10 or 15 or 20 minutes that I'd be satisfied with. The key is, again, I'm assuming I'm working for a client, so I have to make the client happy. All right, so it's going to be a little boring, a little on point. Well, let me do the melody down an octave, then do it up an octave, see if I can make that happen. Let's see. I think there's something there. Yeah, I think something more like that. So let me just jump to that part of the song. If that makes sense, okay? See, I think that 5-1 progression could lead to something. Might be something there. Ah, shoot, I gotta get that. Yeah, now that one I actually went longer, and because it's pretty long on a D, so I could start with the. No, wait. So I'm just trying to tell you what I'm thinking here. So I wanted to resolve on the A chord, but the A chord hits on the end of beat 2. So I've got all that time. So I can keep going on the blues. I can delay the blues start a little later, play over the E to A progression, and then when it lands on the F sharp minor to start the last 2 bars, if I'm on A there, it seems to be okay. Let me try it. See, there, for some reason, it worked better there. I'm talking about there as opposed to the first phrase, where when it went at the beginning, if I did it right away or something, well, I'm not doing it right away, but in the second phrase, so I remember, see, even though that's an F sharp minor chord there, when I landed on it, on that A, it didn't sound good, but it sounded much better here. So it's just funny. It's like, I feel like in some ways here in my head, I feel like the solo is already there. The perfect solo is already there. I'm just trying to find it. You know what I mean? And so you try the tricks that you have at your disposal. And again, the blues thing, I'm doing both blues scales. I'm doing both the F sharp minor and then the A blues. So I'm doing the F minor blues, which ends up being A major pentatonic, and then the A minor pentatonic. Both seem to work okay if you use them in the right spot. Now see there, I resolved sooner. I don't know if you can hear the piano. Let me turn up the piano a little bit. But again, you could. I wonder what happened if I did the and on the F sharp. That was kind of cool because it was kind of an unexpected ending to a blues lick. Like, whoa, what was that? Instead of kind of cool. And again, it kind of speaks to what we did in the previous solo, which was playing over the chord change, because the chord change there is going from A to F sharp minor. So I'm highlighting the difference. A, and I haven't talked about this, I got to go over here and change these, okay? So I'm going to change those now, the chords, tones. So G, we have the chord tones are A, C sharp, E, D, F sharp, A, E, G sharp, B, and F sharp, A, C sharp. Okay, so those are the, oops, what happened to my F sharp? Yep, okay. So those are our chord tones for these chords down here, okay? It's only 4 chords. Typical pop song, 1, 6, 4, 5. But it's all about mixing them up a little bit, not doing 1, 6, 4, 5. This is, this is 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 1, 6, 5, 1. So it's a little, it's definitely having a little more fun with it than just doing the classic 1, 6, 4, 5. All right, so so a very simplistic version of the solo, if I can do it, would be to start out and down here, play melody. Okay, then take it up a notch. And that's it. So I could do a harmony to the melody. Let's see what that sounds like. So, because the melody is. Or I could. Let me see what. work, it may not. I don't know. I can kind of hear it in my head right now, but let's see. Oh, I forgot to go to the F sharp. Yeah, I could go. It could be something like that where I land on the A, and then I play that G sharp, which is very non-A blues, but it leads us really strongly to the F sharp. I didn't like the harmony though. I didn't like the. Sometimes you can do an imperfect harmony where it's not just thirds, because again the melody. A perfect harmony. But that can be too square sounding. You could do. So in other words, it's, let me put the other guitar in there so we can hear what that harmony sounds like. And that could be something you could do. That would be very Southern rock of us. Yeah, so harmony. No, something's not right. Oh, that's it. That'll work. Check this out. See, that works. In other words, I'm not doing a pure third. It's just a little too perfect. So, and the first chord is D, so it doesn't have a G sharp in it anyway. So why am I playing a G sharp over a D chord? That doesn't make any sense. Just to have perfect thirds. And that would be the more. Right? The G sharp to the A is the melody, and I'm doing a third above both of those, but actually I kind of like going to the E there. Or I could even go. I could just stay on E. Check it out. Again, the idea is if I were to write a harmony, what would I sing? Pure thirds is not going to work there because A, the G sharp over the D chord is going to be kind of squirrely, but also just because it just sounds it sounds like a harmonizer on a guitar button turn on. That's why those harmonizer things don't really work. Nobody really uses those because you can actually train the vocal ones. You can kind of train to do that kind of thing where it's like, oh, sing this note when I sing this note, or if the chord is this, play this, and you can do that. It takes a lot more programming than just going back and doing the harmony yourself. Live, I guess you need a little help, but in the studio, it makes zero sense to use a harmonizer. Just do it. So I could do so take away that melody, and I'm gonna the solo. So it could be start out. Now, if this is by itself, it makes less sense to do that E thing because I mean you're hearing the chord. Let's see what it sounds like. So I might do something like that, go to bring it to the blues thing. Oh wait, no, I was going to go higher. Now, if I were to go around again, so if the whole thing just repeated, or if it was a fade, that's a whole nother thing. Okay, okay. So let's say I've already done the solo. I've already recorded the perfect solo, right? Okay, I'm gonna go fast forward here. Okay, this is now we got. Let's see. I need to do. You know what? I'm just gonna grab all of this. Move it over. In fact, I'm going to leave the solo in, the melody in there. Can I copy that? Let's see. All right, so then I got to get rid of this button. Okay, the button again is just that last chord. And I'm going to loop this. Now, so a outro fade, solo fade, or an outro solo or whatever is going to be, like I said, it kind of, that's where you can kind of show off. I think of the Rosanna solo, you know, the Rosanna solo, which starts. I forget that lead. Can't remember how he did it. I had it figured out when I was a kid. It's a great lick, though. It's a great lick, but it's not flashy. But at the end, it's like, you know, some of the best licks ever. Particularly best licks that Lukather had ever done. Boy, he was at, like, he was peak Luke right there when he was doing the overdub for the outro solo for. And so I might lean to something a little bit more gainy. Let me see. Not that. Let's see. What's this sound? Let me see. Go away. Oh my gosh. Why did you? Let me save. Just in case we're about to go. I'm not seeing any buffering on my end. Well, that's not the tone. Let's see. This one. No. I accidentally did like a stupid gain. Well, let me pull up this one again. 'Cause I like this amp. Let me just pull up a different tone. Oh, John Mayer. No, I don't want. Let me do. What's the Toto sound like? All right. So where's the delay? I'm not hearing it. Depth rate, whatever. Is it? Oh, it's bypassed. Where's the? Oh, I see. There we got lots of delays. Okay. Woo. All right. Gonna have to turn down a little bit, but I'm not gonna be able to hear the track otherwise. So the vocals may still be on here. But this might be the time where you do that harmony kind of thing. If they're singing. something I didn't talk about last week, and not that I gotta throw a noise gate on here. It's too hissy. Where is the gate? I know it's in here. Where are you? There you are. No, let's see. Huh. Oh, weird. Well, that is a slow gate. Huh. Wait, maybe it's... Anyway, I'm not digging the gate on this thing. Doesn't seem like it's very much there. Amp selector, amp A, amp B. It's cool, I got 2 amps to choose from, that's awesome. Bypass amp. That's cool. This is a great plugin. It's is this the Scuffrum amps? What is this one? You would think they would tell you in the... Anyway. I definitely don't need that. All right. But the thing I forgot to say was, like, if you're going to do it, again, yeah, noise gate, I can throw one on here on the front end. The noise gate's on the amp. What's the amp model I usually use? Let's see, filter, no EQ, no dynamics. There we go, noise gate. But one of the most important things to do is to get that balance right, okay? It's really true when you're singing. If you're in the studio singing, you know, you need to get the music and your voice and everything. You need to get the balance of everything you need perfect. If you got too much voice, you'll be too timid. If you don't have enough, you'll sing too hard. You might get pitchy. You won't be able to sing in tune, things like that. You get the idea. It's like, I mean, I know you all have done this where it's like the record's fading out and the guitar player's going crazy and you're cranking the volume of your record player up just so you can hear those last licks. That's exactly the, I need to do a Facebook post. That's exactly the kind of thing that it was like, oh, dang it. And the funny thing is, I kind of hope they bring fade outs back. Alex is starting to do it on some of his productions that he's producing and stuff. I just think a fade out is like the coolest way to end a song. I think they did it mainly just so that radio stations could crossfade 2 records. They could start playing another record as another one's fading out or something like that. I mean, fade out is a very unnatural. You don't fade out live, and that's probably why they kind of got rid of it, because it wasn't a natural thing to do. But yeah, you got the idea there. It's like I could even, this would be if let's say I'm going to take the melody out. this would be the perfect place to play the melody. And I'll even do another. Let me do another. I have fun doing that, the outro stuff. Let me see. Obviously, you can tell I'm having fun. Okay. But I'm staring, I'm looking at the screen because I'm looking at the chord progression. I'm trying to keep track of the chords because it can get away with you. It can get away from you, the chord progression. So you kind of want to, I love having it, when I'm soloing, I love to have a chart in front of me. I really do. I'm not really good at just kind of winging it and feeling it. I mean, if it's just a modal thing, if it's just one vamp on one chord or a 2-chord thing, obviously I don't need a chart. But I want to go up an octave. I'm not recording. That's when you're like, wait, what's he doing? That's when you're soloing, that's what's happening. If it's a fade here's what, because we don't really do fades anymore. I probably haven't played on a record that had a fade in probably 40 years. But typically, if the whole band is there and they loop the end, if they're looping the end, they're kind of implying that there's going to be a fade or something, I think. I don't know. Anyway, but if they're looping the end like that, then you just start going crazy at the end. If you're in a room with a band, so I guess it's not been quite 40 years since I've done a fade, because I have fairly recent recollections of the band, because what eventually happens is it's really fun to hear tracks after the fade. Like, you can hear them sometimes, you can find them places, and there's sometimes the songs just fall apart, and then they'd make that the end, right? So, like, the drummer would just be like, he's having fun, everybody's just overplaying, because they think, oh, we're done. They faded out the song by now, so let's just overplay. And that's kind of part of the fun of being in a session with a bunch of musicians. So, hey, have a great week, Sam. Good to see you. My flawless performance. I don't know about that. So again, really coming up with any good ideas really that way, but it definitely, you know, the problem is this is forever. This will be up there forever, so people can like snip it and go, "Tom's awful. Listen to him solo." And it's like, yeah, that was awful. But when you're in a room with a bunch of musicians, you kind of weigh the chances. You know, it's like, okay, should I try to go way out here? And again, I didn't even go blues on this. I could have gone blues on it, but that's. Yeah, I could put Luke on here, Lukather, so I know what sound this is. Oops, Lukather. But growing up, he was like my favorite guitar player. I mean, you know, I got into Jimmy Page, Steve Howe. I was really into. I think about all the different. Think about all the different guitar players, you know, Eric Clapton, yeah. You know, I guess, never got into the Yardbirds. Thank you, 1025. Thank you so much, Bruce. Your clock is ahead, but that's good. Oh, any tips on getting used to playing standing up? You just practice that way. Just practice standing up. I know it's a workout, but I play standing up at church, so I'm kind of using it. The other thing you need to do is steady, and this may be something that is obvious, but it may be something you haven't thought of, and that is look at when you're sitting. I'm assuming you're more comfortable and you play better sitting down. So look at where the guitar is in relationship to your body when you're sitting down, and adjust your strap so that the guitar is in the same place. I kind of wear my guitar higher. Well, I wear it higher than Alex, and particularly at a certain time, I wore it. You know, it kind of made fun of me. Now he wears his guitar a lot higher because he realizes, yeah, the ergonomics of it. You don't want the guitar down here, so you want to adjust the strap so that the ergonomics you're playing is similar to as when you're the most comfortable sitting down. Oops. And so I think that's kind of the first place you can start. But the other place is you can practice standing up. You don't have to do all of your practice standing up, but if you've got a show coming up and you want to be ready for it, you know, and if it's 30 minutes of music or something like that, then I would go through the music one time every day standing up, so that it feels normal. The other thing that I tell people, and I did a video on this, it wasn't very popular. It wasn't unpopular, just not many people watched it. Let's see, what did I call that? Gig. I think something about a gig. Worst gig, no. 15 minutes. Tips for better next gig. Nail your next gig. This was early when we bought the house, I think. Well, how long ago was this? Yeah, so I say practice standing up, practice loud, and minimize nervousness. So here's the thing. Let's look at the analytics on this and see if anyone's watched it in the last. One person has watched it in the last 48 hours. Yeah, this video has not done anything, but here it is. Or you can check it out. 1,000 views total. I've made $6 on this. I've lost 8 subscribers because of it. That's so funny. I lost 8 subscribers from this video. Oh, I lost 8 right at the top when it came out. That's so funny. Anyway, well, probably because it came out right after I exploded. That's probably what happened. Was my channel exploded. Then this video, and they're like, "Well, I'm not gigging. I'm a beginner, so I'm not going to subscribe to this guy anymore." Okay. When did I release it? Okay. Yeah, 2019. So it was just after we bought the house. I'm in the amp room. It's the only video I think I've recorded in the other room. Maybe I've done one other video in there, but that's where my amps are. I didn't talk too much about the chord harmony there, but maybe talk about this more next week. Oh, earthquake in San Diego. Oh no, let me look it up. Oh, I did get an emergency alert. When was it? I didn't feel it. Where's my earthquake thing? There it is. I got this sorted wrong. I got to sort it by recent. Let's see. Nope. I'll pull up the news. Anyway, it'll be all over Twitter. I guess. Oh wow, it's 5.2. That's pretty big. Yeah, I got an alert on my phone, but I didn't feel it. But I bet people in Orange County felt it, and San Diego, obviously. Sometimes if it's 5.2 and it's like 400 miles under the surface, you don't really feel much. Did anything fall off? I think I would have heard if something fell off the wall. All right. I'm going to check out. I've got a session. I got a composer coming over in just a few minutes to do to work on. Actually, we're working on the Exorcist file. So if you're into podcasts, it's an interesting. I suggest listening to the first episode of the first season. It's kind of a podcast about exorcism, and it's hosted by a priest that does exorcisms and a kind of a Protestant skeptic, so to speak. I wouldn't call him a complete skeptic. I'm a skeptic, and so listening to it and having explained and having a lot of the Catholic jargon explained and all that stuff, and it's kind of fascinating. And they have actors that acted out, and there's scary music. I didn't write music or play on music in the first season, but the second season is music that I wrote, and with my friend Jim, who's coming over. And today he's coming over. We're doing a whole episode where I'm just going to go ahead and track guitars on his. He's doing all the episodes. So anyway, that's what I got to work on. Anyway, I will talk to you all later. Hope you are well. Charlie is in San Diego. He's in his car probably, or on the beach. So he's probably not too in danger, hopefully. So I will talk to you later.